Good morning. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of Washington, D.C. I'm joined by Peter Newsham, the chief of the Metropolitan Police Department, Councilmember Jack Evans, to provide a briefing on the arrest in the murder of Wendy Martinez. Wendy was a D.C. resident, a jogger, and a proud resident of Washington, D.C., a member of our community. She was senselessly murdered near where we stand at 11th and P Streets Northwest on Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. While people acted quickly, including our emergency responders, to try to help Wendy, she succumbed to her injuries. Wendy's murder has been devastating to her family and friends, people in this neighborhood, and certainly damaging to all of our senses of safety. I want to thank MPD, our detectives and officers, on their quick investigation of this crime. I want to let you know that MPD made an arrest last night, and we feel very confident that we have in our custody the person responsible for this murder. I want to turn to Peter Newsham to provide you more details.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Bowser. As you know, this past Tuesday, September 18th, just before 8 p.m., members of the 3rd District responded here to this carryout for the report of a stabbing victim. When they arrived, they found 35-year-old Wendy Martinez suffering from life-threatening stab wounds. She was being tended to by members of the public, including a nurse from our community. DC Fire and EMS responded. They transported Wendy to a local hospital where she was pronounced dead. What we have learned from our investigation at this point is that Wendy, who was known as an avid runner, was jogging westbound on P Street. When she arrived at this intersection at 11th and P, the suspect was at the intersection and stabbed her. We believe that there was only one person involved in the assault. We do not have any information to suggest that Wendy knew or had any association with the suspect in this case. We also do not have any information at this point to suggest that it was a robbery, so the motive in this case right now is unknown. Yesterday morning we released surveillance video showing a person of interest in the case. A combination of information that we received from our 3rd District patrol officers and tips from the community helped our homicide detectives establish the identification of this person of interest that was shown in the video. Homicide detectives last night searched the surrounding areas. They located this individual in a park at 14th and Girard Street Northwest. He was transported to the homicide division for questioning. Sufficient probable cause was established, and this morning we arrested and charged 23-year-old Anthony Crawford of Northwest D.C. with first-degree murder while armed. Wendy, as most of you know, was recently engaged. She was an accomplished professional who, by all accounts, was beloved by family and friends. I cannot even begin to imagine what her fiance, what her family, what her mom, what her brother, what her friends are going through right now, and I want to extend our heartfelt condolences to this family. I also want to thank the community for their assistance, not only for attempting to provide medical assistance on the scene, also by being cooperative with our detectives and responding to the homicide unit on the night of this offense, and lastly by providing the tips which were instrumental in closing this case. Also want to recognize the efforts of our 3rd District Patrol officers, our homicide unit, and in particular Detective Alexander Vogel. We can take, I think, any questions that you all might have.
Chief, can you give us any details about Mr. Crawford? Was he homeless? Any history of mental illness? Is there anything you can provide?
He was living in Northwest D.C., so he had a home in Northwest D.C. So he was not homeless. It's not our understanding that he was homeless.
Any history, any background?
He does have a criminal history. We are still going over that to identify the extent of that criminal history.
Have investigators been able to glean
We don't have a motive in this case. We do not. The surveillance video, like I said, and the cooperation of the public in providing tips was really the key to closing this case. Having patrol officers who were familiar with the community and the folks in this community was also helpful. You know, whenever you have, you know, kind of this unexplained type of brutal attack that happens in our city, you know, we do everything we possibly can to get to the bottom as quickly as we can. And so it was a combination of efforts by the community, by the police, that were able to get this guy relatively quick.
Straight ahead. Hold on 1 second here. Straight ahead.
The suspect may have had some wounds on his hands. Was he injured in any way?
The suspect was taken to the hospital for an injury that he has on his hand, yes. The suspect did not cooperate with us. Yes? All of that will be looked into, and as you know, we will look very carefully at the suspect's past to see if there was some indication that would lead someone to this type of violence. So that will be, we will be taking a look at not only his criminal past, but if he had any mental health issues or substance abuse issues that potentially we could have taken care of. Yeah, that type of information will become available once he's presented in court, that kind of detail. You know, we were able to talk to multiple witnesses, and we don't have anything to suggest that there was any type of confrontation between the two. It looks like it was an unprovoked attack. Yeah, you know, a couple things about the video, although it was a little bit grainy, and I know you've all seen the video, there was a very distinct shirt that the suspect was wearing. You could see that he was wearing sweatpants. He had white socks and sandals on. I think that uniqueness of the video is the type of thing our patrol officers, like I said, had a very good sense as to who this person of interest was. We had some folks in the community who did a fantastic job of identifying this folks. We were able to marry up that information. And fortunately, we were able to locate this suspect over at 14th and Girard. We were able to establish a little bit more probable cause, and we had enough to make an arrest.
A little bit about the stabbing itself. Was it all in one location? Did the gentleman follow the victim?
Yeah, without getting into too much detail, you know, our understanding is this happened very quickly. The victim in this case, and I have a hard time talking about this publicly because I know that there is a family who is watching, and this is a difficult thing, I think, for them to have to relive. But she was injured very severely. She made her way into the carryout behind me. Thankfully, there were some folks in the carryout who really went above and beyond to try and help her. Until police and fire could arrive on the scene, but unfortunately, they couldn't do enough to save her life. We're still combing through his criminal history. We don't have. I'm going to let the ambulance pass. We're still combing through his criminal history right now, but we do not have any indications of violence in his criminal past. I don't have that information.
People in the rest of the city who are shaken up by this, who felt less safe because of this particular route?
I mean, I don't know if the mayor wants to comment. What I would say is, I live in this city. I think that it is unsettling for anyone who lives in this city to see something like this happen. This is a very isolated instance. You don't see crimes like this very much even during the course of my career. So it's a very unlikely thing that occurred here at this intersection. At the same time, I'm sure that doesn't bring any level of comfort to the Martinez family.
What time was the arrest made and where did you apprehend the suspects?
It was late last night, and he was initially brought in for questioning. The arrest was made at our homicide branch, 100 block of M Street Southwest. Because he needed medical attention, I do not know. I think he probably will, but I can't say for sure.
Delia Gonzalez.
That's a good point. This is an extremely safe neighborhood. This is a very unusual incident, and I'm sure none of us wish we were here at this point today. In what way? He didn't cooperate with our investigators, so I can say that. He did not. He was not wearing that shirt. That kind of detail will come out in the court documents. I'm reluctant to say anything that may negatively impact the case.
Did someone see him and identify him before there was even the video clip? Did someone say, that's the guy? Like, when she was attacked, obviously she was not in a position to say anything. Did someone witness it and say, here's what you're looking for, and then you found the video and there he is?
We had, if you think about this particular location on a warm evening, which Tuesday night was, around 8 p.m., there was a lot of people out here. People had, the witnesses that we spoke to had varying views and perspectives on what had occurred. So we have to piece that all together. So I wouldn't want to say. What we do know, and those are the things that I talked about already, is that Wendy was jogging westbound on P Street. She got to this intersection, there was a stabbing. The suspect fled on foot south on 11th Street. So that's what, essentially, those are the general facts that were very consistent in all of the witness statements.
May I add, Chief?
Yes, ma'am.
I think it can't be... We can't emphasize enough the importance of having video footage to deter crime and to lead to quick arrest when there is a crime. We know we have video from this intersection. We frequently talk in neighborhoods also about private security cameras that we may tap in case there is an incident. And to the gentleman's point, we do expect safety in our neighborhoods, in any and all neighborhood, whether we're in Logan Circle or Wellington Park. We want people to feel safe going about their normal activities. And a woman jogging on our street is a normal activity. And that's why I'm very grateful to community members. Another very key part of this equation is that people were willing to say what they knew to help in any way. This is an outraged community. This is a woman who should be going to work today. And that cooperation with our detectives and police will help us bring justice for this woman and her friends and family.
Mayor, if there's anyone who...
1 second.
If there's anyone who Wendy, who might want to address us and give us some insight, I believe there's some people who are familiar with her.
We're going to wrap up our official briefing, and then I'm sure that you can talk to friends and family, of course. Yes. Well, I expect, and I'll have the Chief Gregory Dean from the fire department is also with us, and he can give us the latest on the wrap up of the fire operations, and Kevin, our chief, can let you know how we're assisting. This won't be, people will be in shelter and temporary housing. They will not be able to go back to Arthur Camper anytime soon. And so while we're working on the condition of that building and what it's going to take to bring it back, we will have to work very hard to make sure people have other housing accommodations. Chief? Yeah, 1 second.
So there's about 40 people still over at Greenleaf. We're working closely with them. We do have enough housing. It's just getting everybody located, and we'll work our way back through that. So today we are on the scene. We're working with the building department. We'll take a determination of the stability of the building. Once we do that, if they say it's stable, we'll start putting people in there. We're working with the building owner to get fencing around that property. We're also going to have a crane come in, and we'll use that, kind of cherry pick where we think the fire started to be able to start looking at that scene. Once we get there, then we'll start walking back through, and if stable enough, we'll go through all the floors and do our secondary search to make sure we didn't miss anything. So the building was inspected last time by the fire department a year ago. It was inspected by a housing department in January, I believe, and also the alarm system itself was checked in April. What we learned last night was that a number of people had pulled the manual alarm, did not hear the horns going off. Within the individual units, the smoke detectors were working, but as the scene worked out yesterday, there was light smoke on the 4th floor. There was no smoke on the floors going up. They believe the fire initially where they encountered was in the caulk loft. The reason that the sprinklers didn't go off was because they were not impinged by fire on all the lower floors. And so that's what we know right now. We're looking to see exactly what the setup was there in the caulk loft, trying to determine were there sprinklers, were there heat detectors, were there smoke detectors.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chief, can you share with us your security camera replay program? I think that's relevant here.
Yeah.
What's that?